Welcome back to Fixing Things. Man, that's my Ford 302. That's my Pro Street Pinto. And I just rebuilt the engine. And it runs great. But it developed an oil leak almost immediately. So I need to determine what was causing this oil leak. And I'm pretty sure it was my own stupidity, and I put the rear main oil seal in backwards. My wife says it's because I was left unattended. And that's probably true. But I can tell you this, it was a mistake made because I was incaput. I was messed up. I was jacked up. I was incapacitated. I was out of my mind. I was in congestive heart failure. And, there's I almost fell down. My big giant valve covers, which I also got to fix, not on this video. So I was in congestive heart failure, and when I was putting the motor together, I made a lot of stupid mistakes. Like I over-torqued. I listened to AI, and AI told me to do the main caps on the engine at the wrong torque steps. Instead of listening to reason, which at the time I didn't have any reason. The reason was I was out of my head. Congestive heart failure. I wasn't getting enough blood to my brain. My doctors had told me, do not do anything. Stay on the couch and just watch TV. What I do? I come out here and rebuild my motor, do all that stuff. You can see it on my videos. I talk about my congestive heart failure. Now I have a new heart valve in, and my brain is working fine, but my oil is still pouring out the back of this engine. I got the engine broke in. It runs great. But I had to pull it back out. Now this video would have been me putting a rear main seal in the car. But the crossover and all that stuff, you can see the oil in the thing. The crossover here that holds the suspension and everything on is right where the main cap is. So there's no room to get the oil pan off, nor get to the rear main cap. So on this video, we are going to show you how to replace the rear main seal. Do it the right way, because now I got my brain intact. Do it the right way without pulling the crankshaft out. Lord help me on this episode of Fixing Things with Pastor Bill. Man, this is going to be a good video, I can tell. Man, it's been a long time. We got to fix this engine bay too. We're going to do a lot of changes before that motor goes back down. First thing I want to do is get this oil changed out of here. And I want to see what the condition of this oil is. This is the zinc engine oil, and it's nice and clean. It's got a little bit of dirt in it. You can see how the heavy spots are going to the one side, but most of the oil is fairly clean. Not bad. Still looks pretty good. Probably could have ran it for a little longer. All right, so now you can start to see the zinc particles. They were floating on top. It helps keep it mixed. But the oil looks pretty good. And we're going to put some zinc oil back in it. We're going to put some 15W40 in it with some a little bit of the zinc break-in oil back in it. So we're going to take the oil pan off in this position so that the oil doesn't drain back up in the motor and come out onto my floor. So we'll take it off here and then we'll flip the motor over. There shouldn't be very much oil up in the gallery, and if it gets in that, it shouldn't leak out. We'll probably get this filter off next. It's on there. But that oil looks good. That's good. That's what you want to see when you're breaking in your motor. No metal chunks. We'll see when we take the oil pan off, we'll see. And we'll get this oil filter off. And we'll see what we see on this thing. Huh. It had to be oiling, right? It had to be oiling. Maybe the filter just drained back. Probably that's what happened. That's what I'm counting on. Most of the time when I take these off, it has some oil in it. In fact, I put oil in the filter. All right, let's get up. Well, that means I ain't gonna make a mess with the filter. I hear it rolling around. I know what it is. It's the little stud that fell when I was putting the valve covers on. And I'm glad it's in the oil pan and not in blocking up an oil gallery. Thank you, Lord. All right, let me get my dead blow hammer and maybe a long fat screwdriver. We're not saving this gasket. I got brand new. I'm using good stuff this time. Because weekends are made for fun. That's my roller skating song today. Me and the wife, we go roller skating all day. La la, I don't know. All right. So I guess the best thing is to do is inspect the oil pan. If that thing is not in my oil pan, then it's in my, oh yeah, there it is. See it? So that's one of these little studs right there. And it came off when I was putting the valve covers on. And it slid down into that little hole right there on the other side, I believe, maybe this side, and fell down in there and dropped into the oil pan. Oh, thank you, Lord. All right, I want to inspect the oil pan and check for any sludge or anything. I see the zinc. Yeah, there's a little debris, dirt down in there. Gasket's still in good shape, but I got some new ones, so we ain't using it. I need to put a rag. I'm getting oil out of there. Getting oil out of there on my Motra. That means she's gonna be smoking again once I put her back together. All right, stay there, rag. We gotta get a razor blade and we'll clean all this up. The pan gasket was holding, so it wasn't the pan gasket. It was definitely the rear main seal. You can see oil, it's wet on that outer edge. And it's not leaking from the rear main seal. All right, now it's time to take that rear main cap off. And we'll see what's going on with it. It looks like it's in the right place. It's going the right direction. But I think I see where the problem is. All right, so let's get with it. I remember I shortened the thingy. I shortened it. So maybe in my ultimate wisdom, I cut short this thing because it was way too long. Maybe the gasket they gave me was for a different motor. So, but I got it in right. So the way it is the feathered edge goes towards the inside of the motor, towards where the oil goes. And I'm looking at it and both, or maybe one side is backwards. Oh, all right, hold on. I know that this one is right. That one looks to be wrong. All right, so it looks like the feathered edge on this one is facing towards the back. I'll know when I get it out. But see right there? The feathered edge, see right here, the feather edge is facing that way. And it should be facing the other way, towards the front of the motor. And the thing is, I know this. This isn't my first Ford engine that I've tore apart and put back together. I've done many of these motors. Oh man, oh man. See, I should have listened to the doctors. Now we gotta get this seal out. So we gotta tap something in here without scarring up the journal on the oil thingy here. It still looks to be good. Man. All right, in the center of this seal, there is a hard wire core. And I'm using a punch that has a hole in it, the center punch. You do not want to get, the center punch is made out of hardened steel. You don't want it to bang on the surface of your thingy. So we're just gonna put it over that hard wire and tap it down. And you see the seal coming up. Now we're going to try to get it with a pair of really good pliers. I'm just going to grab it and ply on it from the and there we go. And the seal was installed the correct way. Oh, that's not good. Let's get the new seal in there. Dang, gone it. That thing was in there the right way. So we're probably gonna have to, maybe this little tang here we might have to cut off. I'm not cutting off nothing. Let's go get the new one. So this is a Velcro part number E1S 30136, rear main seal, Velcro. Brand new, still in package. All right, so on this you see it has an edge view of the seal, and it has some instructions on it. So the feathered side of it, the little tang side, goes towards the oil side of the motor, towards the front of the motor. Install the seal with large seal lip pointing towards the engine. Apply coating with aerobic sealant to the bearing cap. So that means here we need to put a little bit of sealant down on that. And that's what we'll do. And install and torque cap bolts to 10 to 12 foot-pounds. That ain't right. Then position the cap and tap. Oh, I see what they're saying. Because you want this thing to set the seal. All right, this thing has never been opened. It's a brand new seal. So I installed it right. So this feathered side goes towards the engine. It has the national parts code on it too, 3403. All right, so I'm pretty sure we need to oil up this seal. All right, I'm just going to put a little bit of axle grease on it. And that will help it slide down through there. Little loopy doobie in your life. All right, so this edge goes towards the front of the motor. Whew, could have got my toe. And they say you're supposed to leave a little bit out. Right now it's more than a little bit. Right now I got about an inch out of the hole. There we go. Please, Lord, let it seal. All right, putting a little bit of gear lube on this end of the seal. And making sure this lip goes towards the front. And I'm going to go ahead and push this sucker down into place just like that. I see a lot of guys, they put the cap on first, and you can do it that way, and you're hoping that this is going to push down into that cap. All right. Make sure this bearing is nice and lubricated and there's no dirt on it. And so what they're wanting to do is just put a smidgen, I could probably do it on this side, a smidgen of sealant right here. And we should probably put a little bit on the ends, but they don't say to do that. And we got that one down in there good. Because this thing is going to push up against itself. All right. We don't want to torque it anymore. We want to get the torque wrench on it. Oh, please, Lord, don't let this thing leak. All right, we got that thing down in there in its home. We're going to go ahead and make sure it's set. And I'm going to set the torque wrench to start at about 20 foot-pounds. Oh, so I go the right way. All right, now we're going to go up to about 40 foot-pounds. And we'll go to 50. Now we're going to go to 60, which is within torque specs. And now we're going to go to 65. Let me see what this one's at. Definitely past 60. Now this is 65. And I think we're just going to go right up to 70, not quite 70. Check the other ones. All right, we're good. That's the correct way of putting the rear main oil seal in. The only problem is I was out of it. My heart wasn't giving me blood flow to the El Braino. It was in Drano mode, in my El Harto Braino mode, whatever it was. So all I got left to do is put the new Felpro gasket on instead of the cork gasket. I decided if I was going to put this in, I was going to splurge and do it right. Boom, there it is. So that's how you do it. Hey, if you like these videos, like and subscribe. This wasn't that hard a task. The seal came right out. We got the new seal in the right direction. The problem was I cut the old seal. I don't know, maybe the seal was the wrong seal. And after the engine, I don't know. All I know is this seal went right in the way it's supposed to. and we got it countersunk. We got a little bit of silicone on the areas where it needs to be, but time will tell. But before this motor goes back in, I gotta address that engine bay. Yeah. So I don't know if you've been following along with my project or not, but I'll get you up to speed. The rear main seal is done. We just got to get the pan back on. But before this engine goes back down in this hole, a lot of you guys that are trying to put V8s motors in your Ford Pintos, there's issues that needs to be addressed before you start trying to drop that motor down in. One of them is your firewall. Now I bent it in with a sledgehammer, and I can get the bolts in and out. The problem is it took me an hour to get that bolt out, and took me about another hour to get that bolt out, because I can only go like an eighth or a quarter turn at a time. So we're going to open up this fender well. I mean, this not fender well, this a little bit more. So we're going to take the sledgehammer to it, hammer, whatever we're going to use, maybe air drive. I'm going to do something. We're going to get this thing opened up even more. Another thing is, you can see the motor was rubbing, the exhaust manifold was rubbing here. So I'm going to take this battery box off. We're going to shorten it up, and we're going to shorten all this stuff up. We'll cut it out and weld it back in place, because this helps keep the heat down off the rubber bushings on the suspension. So that is an area that needs to be addressed. There are headers that fit it. There are far few in between, that's for sure. On this side, you can see I had a hard time getting the motor in, getting it lined up with the transmission, and I used a pry bar here to pry against the exhaust manifolds to get it in. So we are going to take all this brake stuff, now that it's apart, and move it all up into here area. There's plenty of room on this side, and we may move the suspension over about a 1/2 inch. We may move, or we'll find a different rod, because the exhaust goes down through here, then around and goes out that hole. And there goes the motor mount, and goes out that little hole right there. It fits, it works. When the motor rocks though, it may hit that, and you don't want the motor to go in at full tilt and push up against your steering. You ain't got no steering. The next thing is that cross member right here. That cross, right now it looks like you have like about 1 inch, but when the transmission is lifted up into place where it's supposed to be, right now it's hanging and sitting on 2 pieces of truss rod, or whatever the things support for the frame, or whatever it is. We're gonna cut that, notch it out about 1 inch away from what we need. We'll probably try to lift that brake line, or put a brand new brake line that's in it, because the brake line comes up there. And because the 4 nuts that holds the torque converter on literally takes about an hour to get off, because you're making little dinky things with the ratchet and wrenches, and ratchet and wrenches, and to get those off. Not only that, they're very hard to get the nuts started. So I think with at least 1 inch more room, or we may even cut it back into this and put plate steel up into it somehow. I'm not sure. Whatever we're going to do, we're going to modify it so that it's easier. The next thing is my starter runs on, and I'm not sure what the deal is with that. I think this is a lower voltage starter, and while the engine is starting, it puts off a small amount of juice from the solenoid into the starter. Not enough to make the regular starter. I have the regular starter, but it's enough to get this one to stay engaged. So I may come up with a way to eliminate that. But other than that, other than making some more room in here and cleaning this bay up, making this thing look great. Also, when we was putting the motor in, we had to take the water pump off to get the motor in. So I went ahead and I cut this open, but we're gonna weld this piece back in place, or make some brackets that goes around this and weld some nuts on it and put that thing back in place, because this is part of the front of the vehicle's thingamajiggy that holds the stress of the car. And if this was just a drag racing car, that would not be much of a problem. But this car is going to be like a rally sport autocross car. So this is crucial for all that right there. We were having problems with the radiator, but I fixed that by cutting a hole in the hood. So we cut a hole in the hood, and we're gonna mount some rods in it, and we're gonna try to use the original hardware to shut the hood. Try to. So I put this little tidbit on the back end of the video because there's a lot of questions I've been getting on what did you do here and what did you do there. And hindsight being 2020, I didn't have the help from other people when I did this. A lot of that stuff people were doing, putting V8s in these cars way back when. A lot of them, people were cutting out the fender wells and doing everything, or taking the, just putting a whole new one in, and the car was a race car. This car is going to drive on a street. It's going to have a heater and everything. Another thing is the valve cover on this side was hitting the heater fan, and I moved it over 1 inch. The whole system was moved over. There's a video on how I did that. You also have to take apart the heater core. So while you got the heater core out, put a new heater core in it. So the heater core is like $40. So drop a new heater core in it, put your new hoses on it, and then you don't have to worry about water leaking inside your cab and doing that stuff all over again. I think it'd be very informative on what I did to get that heater core slid over. I opened up the hole. We had to break the heater core, the heater box in half, slide it, screw it back into place in about a 1 inch offset, and also screw this in a 1 inch offset. So the original outside of the heater box is in its original place, but the inside of the heater box is 1 inch over, if that makes sense. Watch the video if you're curious. Also, putting a motor, when you're dropping a V8 into the Pinto, is the motor mounts. And you'll notice one motor mount is bigger than the other motor mount. That's because your motor sits 1 inch offset. And it has to. The original transmission and everything sits 1 inch offset to the passenger side. And they did that to make room for the steering. So like the V6s and stuff like that. And the 4-cylinder really didn't make much difference. There was plenty of room. But when they started running the V6s in them, and this basically, they say it's the same as the Mustang 2. And if you notice on a Mustang 2, the motor sits 1 inch offset. So I made these, there's a video on how I made these. They're very simple. I used the original motor mounts and just welded these pieces on top of it. And I used the motor mounts from the Ford F-150, and they just bolt right in. I just drilled long slots in there, holes, cut them out, and that way the motor mount will slide in, and it'll give you some adjustability room and getting the motor level also. So your motor needs to sit in there 1 inch offset to the passenger side. There's a lot of stuff. If you want to put a V8 in a Pinto. The next thing is I'm running a C6 automatic. The C4 would be the same thing. Whatever the transmission that came on the 4-cylinder, which is back in that corner, it's a lot shorter. You're going to have to shorten up a drive shaft and use a new yoke and get a crossover. I got a video on what I did. I welded up the original Pinto drive shaft and put the yoke from the F-150. Also, I've seen a lot of guys, they just gut the wiring. And I didn't want to gut the wiring because the brake lights, all the stuff, the reverse lockout and all that stuff, you know, all that stuff works on this car. The alternator works. So I made the alternator support to go on the same side of the motor as the original Pinto. I see a lot of guys, they put them over here, and I can tell you that's a lot of work to do because you got to redo the wiring harness and everything else. So I chose, and all I did was take the one for the other side and I bent it a little bit and put a little welded tab on there. You can see that in one of my videos. I documented everything that we've done on this car. And it sits in there and it runs. And we're still not done. So when we get this back ready to drop in, which now all I gotta do is put that pan back on and finish this up, and that motor's going back in there. But we're gonna clean this thing up and we're gonna make it look like brand new. Also, I'm gonna, just a little spoiler alert, we're gonna give this a chrome gold orange paint job. It'll be a wrap. It's gonna be bad. I showed my wife the picture of it. She says, oh, now I'll really drive it. She's scared to drive everything I make because I make radical stuff. She won't. She'll ride in the me-haul truck, but she won't drive it. She knows how to drive stick shift. And she knows I'm a good mechanic, especially now that my heart is working. Oh, gosh. So doctor said we got to do something more than what we were doing before. So we took up roller skating. We got another channel we started. It's called Too Old to Skate. And on that channel, me and Carol haven't been roller skating for 30 years. So we go, you can watch that and see old farts. I'm 62 years old. See old farts learning to roller skate all over again because everyone says it's like riding a bike. Don't listen to them. Man, you got to get your wheel legs all over again. I'm just now starting to do crossovers. Starting to. And my old legs don't like to stretch real good anymore. They take baby steps. So, hey, if you like my content, like and subscribe. Put some comments down in the bottom. We got to get, because I've been slacking on this channel for a while, getting my health back. But I'm getting ready to come full steam ahead because this spring, this car is going back on the road. Hasn't been on the road in a long time. We did a lot of work to this car. Go back and check. We put 4-link suspension in it. We tubbed it out on the side. We got some fat Mamba Jamba tires back here. We put 5-lug axles on it, 5-lug hubs up front. If you want to get your Pinto with 5 lugs on it, my videos. Watch my videos. I did it and it all works. Another way to put 5-lug in the rear is just put a different rear end in it. But that's expensive. I'm cheap. Probably why my oil seal leaked. No, that's because of my heart. God bless you. I'll see you on the next Fixing Things with Pastor Bill. Great time of day. I'm going to get this thing back together.